Hi and welcome to the Monday Live, and very much straight after the weekend for me, because I was doing a bridge weekend in Denham where we were finishing our charity exploits. We had our cakes, my chocolate brownies and lemon drizzles from the office from Megan, and cupcakes and cornflake cakes from Katrina, and they were all on available for all the people on the bridge weekend, and we got some generous donations, etc., to go along with all the donations that you've been giving over the last 2 or 3 weeks for Cancer Research UK, which has been brilliant. I'll just put that up there so you can see, of course, and we've got our raffle as well. And of course, Alfie and Helen and Gary were running the weekend before last, and that's been brilliant. And that goes all hand in hand, of course, with all of the bridge communities fundraising, which has been brilliant. It's been a great effort, I think, and it's nice to get bridge back at the forefront of charity fundraising, because it always has been a fundamental thing for charity. So let's keep that going. Okay, so what have we got to come? We are in Greedober. Greedober, don't forget, we are focusing on pairs. We're focusing on the extra 10 points every one, and so we'll be looking at that in our little seminar, which will include a scoring test. It will include a scoring test, so be ready. And we'll have our 5-level decision, the hangover from the Friday, of course, and we'll have the bidding quiz at the end. With regard to the events coming up, well, as I say, I've been at Denham, and I have to say Denham really did well. I thought this event, we had a lovely group of people of all sorts. What do I mean by that? Well, people that I know well, people that I hadn't seen since pre-COVID, which was lovely. A number of groups of people who I hadn't seen for 7 or 8 years. As well as new people as well. So a nice variety, good food, good company, and no, it was very good, I have to say. So I enjoyed that. And of course, we have got various events coming up, Christmas and the New Year, and of course, the reboot. That we have there as well. And what is the reboot, you are asking? Oh, there was Isle of Wight there as well. The reboot, of course, is where we start the new year with a big burst of seminars. We're doing Declare a Play this year, and it is intense, no doubt about it. 6 seminars in 3 days, morning, afternoon, morning, afternoon, morning, afternoon, and that was great. And it's great fun. You really enjoy it. I got distracted by a message there, because Jim has asked me whether I enjoyed listening to the football on the way back from the event. And I did, because I only listened to the first half, Jim. And by the time I got home, of course, I'm with my family. I am enjoying their company. And I checked the score later and didn't enjoy that. But I did enjoy the trip home for two weekends in a row. So there you go. All right, so we're going to start with the 5-level decision. Let's have a look at that. Well, here we are. You are vulnerable against not. You are vulnerable against not. And you're the opening bidder. No, you're not. North is the opening bidder. There you go. There's a surprise for me. North is the opening bidder. He opens a week 2, and you have a classic takeout double. However, with your opponent's non-vulnerable, they decide to jump to 4 spades. And it then goes double again. And the bidding is back round to you. So you are vulnerable against not here. It goes 2 spades double, 4 spades double, and it's your decision. Do you go for the bonus points for a game, or perhaps do you settle for a penalty? The 5-level decision. They are nasty. Every time they come up, you feel as if you're sort of on the edge of a decision, one of which could be rather expensive. Okay, so we'll come back to that after our little seminar on playing part scores at pairs. I've got to remember where I'm going. There we go. So playing part scores at pairs. Now, last year in Guido, we were choosing the best part score. Okay, choosing the best part score. However, this year we have chosen the best part score, we hope, and we make the most of it in the play. So we'll see that. So when you're playing a part score, we are going to need to know the scoring. So we are going to do a test in a moment, okay, because it is fundamental to how we play a lot of these contracts. You know, if you're in a contract and you think, I bet you half of the people are in no trumps, you quickly assess how many tricks you might think they make in no trumps. You then try to beat that. And sometimes your play will be different because you're striving for the extra trick. This is particularly if you've chosen to play in a minor suit. If you've chosen a minor suit part score, the number of tricks you'll make will often make a big difference. And we're going to see a traveller where that comes up. So comparing your scores against other contracts and understanding that every 10 points counts. So have a look at this traveller. Now it may be slightly artificial, but what I've got up there is scores of 140, 130, 120, 110. The minus 50s are another matter. Okay, that's where people have outbid themselves perhaps and not quite done enough. But what a difference those scores make. 110 for north-south, making 9 tricks in a minor, 8 tricks in a major, hasn't scored well, but the over tricks have. The over tricks in no trumps, well, 2 no trumps making rather than 1 no trumps plus 1, or 3 clubs plus 1, 2 spades plus 1. It's always those extra 10 points that are counting, but what a difference. Remember, you don't get match points for beating people by a long distance, you're just getting them for beating them. So beating them by 10 points is just as good as beating them by 1,000, and that's what's so important. Okay, so as usual, over tricks are going to be important, but particularly important if you think, for example, there may be one hand where you've done a strange thing. Maybe you finish in 3 clubs and everybody else is in 1 no trump. That is where it's crucial to compare, because if you think they're making 1 no trump plus 1, you need to try and outscore that, and we're going to look at that. Okay, so let's do a scoring test. So what do I mean by a scoring test? I'm going to give you numbers, things like 90, and I need you to tell me what scores give you that score. So let's start. So there you go, 90. What would you get 90 for? What would you get 90 for? What scores would you get 90 for? And really, they should be in your mind. I get a huge number of people will look the scores up on the back of the scorecard of the bidding box cards, or of course they just put it into the computer now. It's really important that we understand it's 2 of a minor and 1 no trump making. Okay. And that's a similar thing. So you make an extra trick in the minor, but you get the same score. And we're going to keep going. So that's 90. What about 100? Well, 100 has 3 different options. And they're all, of course, going down. Well, just a reminder how you do score part scores. It's 50 for the part score and 20 for the minors, 30 for the majors, and no trumps, of course, is 40 for the first and then 30 subsequently. You get a bonus 10 points then. That's why we like no trumps. Okay, 100 is 1 down vulnerable, 2 down non-vulnerable. There's 1 more. 1 down doubled and non-vulnerable. Okay. So Brian's nicely summed that up as well. Okay, and just knowing that, particularly in the part score battle, 100 is this. 50, of course, I've missed that out because I hope everybody knows that that's 1 down, non-vulnerable. But they're actually good scores generally, because we're going to see that most part scores are going to beat them. Let's look at 110 then. And once again, 110 has 2 options which are quite important. Okay, and that of course is making 2 of a major, so 8 tricks in a major, but also 9 tricks in a minor. Okay, and knowing these scores, it's worthwhile revising them, because around the part score battle, this is half of the hands you play. Almost half of the hands you play will be a part score battle. Now, sometimes the battle is with your own side, and what I mean by that, do we choose 2 hearts, 2 spades, 3 clubs, 3 diamonds, or no trumps? Because obviously if you can get an extra roughing trick, we always want to play in a major. As we're going to see though, 1 extra trick in a minor might not be quite enough. Okay, so here you get the same score as the major. We noticed that for 90, we got the same score as 1 no trump when we got an extra trick in a minor. So we are working hard in the minors. Okay, 120, just the 1 score for that. That's got to be 70, and you can only get 70 one way, and that is 40 plus 30 plus 50, so it's 2 no trumps, or 1 no trump plus 1. Okay. Once again, 130 is really just 1 score. You have to get 80 in your part score. So 130 is quite important though, because it's where you make the extra trick in the minor. If you know, so maybe you're in 3 clubs. 3 clubs often won't get you that good a score, 110, but if you can get the plus 1, suddenly you've outscored 8 tricks in a major, and you've outscored 8 tricks in no trumps. Okay, that extra trick. And 140, once again, an exclusive score, and that is, well, I say that you probably, I'm just trying to think if you can get that for, I think it is probably 1 diamond doubled and making, is it? I think. Let me have a think. It probably is, but I'm not putting that in. 1 diamond and 1 club doubled and making is 140, but that doesn't get included. I'm sorry about that. It's 9 tricks in a major. Okay, 9 tricks in a major. As I say, there is one other option, but we're not going to include it. It's too rare. Okay, so 9 tricks in a major, and of course, again, important. And if we put 150 in there, that has 2 options. That is your 9 tricks in no trumps, or of course, 3 off in non-vulnerable, or 11 tricks in a minor. Now that's 2 extra tricks, and that you can see why. You can see why we like no trumps rather than a minor, because look at that, you've had to make 2 extra tricks there in the minor to get the same score. Okay, so there are 3 different options, and you might think that it's an unusual 3 down non-vulnerable, but if you don't get doubled, you can see that it's not a complete disaster. 3 off non-vulnerable, because it may be the case that your opponents can make a decent part score. And that's where we'll stop. Okay, you can go higher than that, but of course, rather like here, the 150 part scores are actually where you can make a game contract. Now, bear in mind, that doesn't mean you should be in the game contract. You may have got a bad lead. 3 finesses might make. Don't think that every time you make 150 you should be in game. Quite often it's because the cards are sitting well for you again. But remember, greed over. Greed is important. Greed is good. You've got to make those over tricks. Okay, so let's look at some part scores, and we'll look at one example hand which I've taken from the big seminar. Remember, the big seminar is on the site for you to watch there, and we are talking about declare a play in part scores. Again, it's a thing that we don't often talk about. Generally, when you have declare a play hands, you will be given either a game or a slam. Sometimes a 1 no trump, but very often a game or slam. It's very rare we discuss part score hands because they're tricky. They are tricky. So trump control tends to be a focus, because remember, very often in a part score, what we do is we end up not choosing necessarily the best fit. Remember last year when we were discussing this, you're just trying to find the best of a bad world often. If you've got a weak opener and a weak responder, you're just trying to get out in your best contract. Okay, so sometimes, quite often, you'll just have 7 trumps. And what that means is trump control is really important. Okay, so you're often playing with fewer than 8 trumps. Do you draw them though, or do you ruff? Crucial choices. Okay. So let's look at one example hand, and we'll go on to other things beyond this when we come in the following Mondays. So first of all, we have the bidding. It goes one spade from your partner and it is your response. One spade from your partner and it is your response. And my philosophy is simple. If I've got 6 to 9 points, I look at my hand and I am choosing between two bids. If I've got 3 card support, I should say, I'm choosing between 1 no trump and 2 spades. Clearly, if I change the clubs and the spades here, I'd have a singleton spade. I'd have to respond 1 no trump. But with 6 to 9 points, if you've got the choice of supporting, what I want you to do is look at your hand and decide what you think your hand is best for. Does it look like a hand that wants to play no trumps, or does it look like a hand that wants to play with a trump suit? And surely with this type of hand, it looks suitable for a trump suit. So there are 2 things to bear in mind here. 1, partner will often have 5 spades. 2, even if he has 4, surely roughing clubs is going to be worthwhile. Okay, and so that you gain tricks. So I'm going to bid 2 spades here. Also, it's more preemptive as well. You never know. The last bidder might want to make a bid over 1 no trump, might come in with 2 hearts or something like that. 2 spades will often keep them out. So here is the hand, and we have to make a plan. Okay, so we're in 2 spades. It turns out partner had 15 points balanced. So one of the things to bear in mind, of course, when you play a contract like this is that, you know, there will be some players in 1 no trump. Some people hate responding with 3 card support for a mage, and they will often just choose 1 no trump. They won't have come across the option. So you do need to bear that in mind. Okay. So here, I think we're pretty happy to be in 2 spades. We're going to rough clubs, but there is an important tactic in these kind of contracts, okay, and that is this, okay, the roughing tactics. If you are never planning to draw trumps, always consider that at the end of the hand, your outside tricks may well disappear. Because if you haven't drawn trumps, maybe you end up cross-ruffing, they may be able to discard cards in the other suits. So what I tend to do is try to combine ruffs with establishing or making tricks in the other suits. So remember, clearly if you've got an ace and king and a side suit, you can take those. But what happens if you've got a side suit with a king and a queen? Well, very often playing that side suit early might allow you to develop a few extra tricks before they can start roughing them. Okay, so this is when you do not plan to draw trumps, and that's usually because you have either weak trumps or you have a shortage in both hands and you're planning to cross rough. Okay, so the plan is to get a balance between aiming for roughs but also aiming to make your trick. So on this hand, I don't think we are planning to draw trumps. Does that make sense? It just doesn't look normal. What we're going to do is we're going to try and rough a couple of clubs, but I don't think we're ever going to play ace in another spade. We'll probably try to rough in the west hand as well. Does that make sense? So we're trying to combine the 2 elements. So I think my plan here is going to be to play a diamond early. Now notice I've got the ace of trumps, which makes a lot of difference. If I didn't have the ace of trumps here, I would realize that the opponents could very quickly draw 2 rounds of trumps. So if I had king to 4 spades, the worry I would have here is that if I played a diamond, they would win the ace of diamonds, then play the ace of spades and another spade, and that suddenly I'd only have 1 trump in dummy. Having the ace of trumps makes a big difference here, because I can win the first trump switch and I've still got the potential of 2 club ruffs. So I'm going to combine knocking out the ace of diamonds with the ruff. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do it early. There's 2 reasons for that. Is because the diamonds might break evenly and I could take 2 diamond tricks, but there's also the chance that south is short in diamonds, and so when I try to cash the diamonds, it's not going to be a disaster anyway, because if south tries to ruff, I may well be able to over ruff, or if I don't over ruff, I'll be able to discard a loser. Okay, so we'll see how we do that then. Okay, so the Jack of Hearts happens to be led. There's 4 top tricks: Ace of Spades, Ace King of Hearts, and Ace of the Clubs. And this is one of the reasons we don't tend to look at part score hands, is because very often you've got a mixed type of hand and you're left with a lot of work to do. So when you are playing a hand like this, what's interesting is it's so important to remember you don't have an ambition. When I plan my play with attitude, I have aim as the first A, you know, the A for aim. When you're playing in October, when you are playing pairs, greed over, you're looking for as many as possible. So I'm hoping to make some extra tricks in diamonds, maybe a couple of club ruffs. Who knows, maybe a ruff in the West hand as well. That would be lovely. Okay, and suddenly I'm thinking, well, I could make 8 tricks, maybe 9 tricks. Who knows? I'm looking for as many as I can. Okay, so we want to make some diamonds. That's important. I'm going to take a club ruff. Now, in an ideal world, if I had Ace, King, Queen of Spades here, I might try to ruff a couple of clubs and I'd be looking to draw trumps. So what I would do is eventually at the end of it, maybe knock out the Ace of Diamonds and hopefully make my diamonds once trumps have gone. But here I do not have that ambition of drawing trumps. My trumps are just too poor. Okay, so I'm going to try for ruffs, and I might even try to get some ruffs in the West hands. So play the diamonds early. And then remember, if they switch to trumps, we win the ace, and we're then going to have to play our ruffs, because otherwise they'll draw it. Okay, so the Jack of Hearts is led. Because the main thing I'm trying to ruff early is clubs, because I'm trying to do that, but I want to keep an entry in the West hand, so I'll play the Ace of Hearts first. Does that make sense? Take the Ace of Hearts so that if I decide to play club to the ace, club ruff, I can get back to the king. Okay, so we win the ace, and the next thing here I would do is play a diamond. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so that's knocked out the ace, which is brilliant. I've got 2 winners there. Now remember, I'm not going to be able to draw trumps. I'm not planning to draw trumps here unless something miraculous happens, and maybe they've got King, Queen, Jack, Tripleton and they decide to play it after we've drawn trumps. I don't know. I'm expecting here that quite often when they take the ace, they might be short in it, but also that I'm going to try and take the Queen and Jack. If I don't take them now, later on in the hand, it's not going to surprise me that one of them might discard a diamond or something like that, and I won't make them. Okay, let's see what they do next. Now, if they had switched to trumps, there's a little bit of urgency then. I might win the Ace of Spades, Ace of Clubs, club ruff, heart, and a club ruff. And then I'd try to take my diamonds. But I've got no urgency. I'm still in control. I've got the Ace of Trumps. So I am going to win the king. And now I will take a club ruff, and then I'm going to play my diamonds. So let's do it. So we play the Ace of Clubs, and we will ruff a club. Okay, so that's neat. We're in a nice place. We're feeling good. We've got 4 tricks made out of the 5. So I'm now going to try and cash the Queen Jack of Diamonds. What's beautiful, if that works, if they both follow, I can discard the heart. Can you see that? So I can then ruff a heart, ruff a club, and then lead another heart, and who knows, I might be able to get a 10th trick almost. I mean, this is lovely. So let's do it. Let's play the Queen of Diamonds. Okay, and we'll play the Jack of Diamonds. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, if they'd ruffed high, that's a little bit more awkward, but I don't think it's a problem, because if they had ruffed high here, we would have discarded a heart loser. Can you see that? So this is really neat. As it happens, they've ruffed low, so we're going to be able to over-ruff that. But as I say, if they ruff high, we discard a heart loser, and we're very comfortable with that. Instead, obviously, we can over-ruff that, and we can then ruff a club, and things are very nice here. We've now made 7 tricks. Sorry, I'm taking you to the full hand here. So that's our 7th trick there, and we are on lead in the East hand. We've got the Ace of Spades, so we've made our contract. But what can your opponents do here? When we lead another diamond here, I think South is stuck. There's no point South discarding anything because we ruff low, but if he ruffs high, we can discard a heart. It's really nasty. Okay, so sorry, I thought I'd showing the diamond. So when we lead a diamond, what on earth can East do? and we will make 2 more tricks and we end up with 9 tricks, let alone 8. 8 wasn't easy to make, but making the 9th trick is what gives you the top score here. Okay, and notice clearly, I mean, if we look at the full layout, if diamonds had broken, you'd be worried a bit that no trumps would score okay. You know that, but I think they're only going to get 8 tricks though in no trumps, even if diamonds break evenly. And if we play correctly, we can make 9. So what would have happened here, if the diamonds had broken evenly, you'd have been able to discard that last heart and hopefully ruff a heart and ruff a club and again get to 9 tricks. You know, you'd end up with 6 top tricks, as it were, 2 diamonds and 4 top tricks, and hopefully, who knows, I think you might even get close to making 10 tricks. But you've got to play on those diamonds early. You're combining the 2 things. So just a quick, again, what I want you to be able to do is 2 spades plus 1, 140. I don't really, once you get used to part score battles, you've got to know these numbers. So for some of you, it's a matter of 2 spades plus 1, that's 3 spades. 3 times 30 is 90. 90 plus 50 is 140. Okay, that's a lot of work. And again, you might get the bidding card out of the bidding box, because of course all the scores are on the back of there. But really, the part scores, it's quite important to know them. I don't mind you not knowing an exact game score, for example, as long as you know that a vulnerable game's 600 plus something, you know, 650 it might be or whatever. But you just need to know 600 from non-vulnerable around 400. I don't mind you approximating that, but at the part score level, every 10 point counts. Okay, so here with the diamonds not dividing, Declarer's going to get between 90 and 120, so we're comfortably beating that score. Okay, so often when you're never going to draw trumps, you've got to work out the combination plays of both establishing tricks or taking tricks and ruffing. And as I say, this is particularly true when your trumps are weak, because you are never planning to draw trumps. Okay. On this particular hand, I think on that particular hand, you'd probably still make the diamonds if you didn't play them early, but I'm not sure you'd end up getting quite as many ruffs as you might want in the West hand. Clearly, I mean, I'll just show you that hand one more time. Clearly, if opponents attack trumps early, it's a little bit different, but you know, sometimes look at North's holding in spades there. I think leading a trump looks pretty tough against 2 spades there. Okay, particularly as you think they might have a 4-4 fit. It's gone 1 spade, 2 spades. So I think well done if you find a spade lead, but on another hand, that would be a bit of a disaster leading from the Queen 10. And as you can see, to be honest, it's not easy to switch to trumps either. So he's led the Jack of Hearts, won the Ace of Diamonds later, and it's not unreasonable for him just not to lead a spade then either, because it doesn't look right, does it? Okay, so that is the seminar. Do work on those part scores. It's really just writing a list down. Writing a list of all the part scores down. Ideally, you just know it's 20 for minors, 30 for majors, and you add an extra 10 points over the majors for the no trump bids. But as I say, knowing the scores makes a huge difference, because it allows you, both in the bidding and the play. In the bidding, you know, you know, understanding that minors, you need to make so many more tricks to make up for the deficiency, as it were, in the points that they score. But particularly when you think you're choosing between a major and a minor, when you see dummy come down and you're in the minor, you'll often be in the minor because you've got a bigger fit. And you'll have potential to make extra tricks, but you have to go for them. And sometimes you have to be really greedy. 130 is a lovely score if you can make it in a minor, because you'll outscore quite a few other part scores. Whereas 110, you might be worried that other people might make tricks. You know, you can sometimes get 120 and no trumps, even if you don't have a suit stopped. Remember, because they can take 1 trick, maybe they've only got 4 tricks to take, and you can muster together 120, which, you know, yes, 3 clubs might be a better contract, doesn't necessarily get you a better score. Okay, let's go back to this one. If you remember, we had the auction 2 spades. We doubled for takeout, classic take out double, four spades double. So first and foremost, what does double mean? West is showing a hand, it's our hand. That's the first thing. I mean, I've shown an opening hand, my partner is usually going to be about 10 or more points. Bear in mind that both members of the partnership can see the vulnerability. So someone quite rightly said, I'm tempted to go for 650. The problem is your partner should be thinking that as well. And one of the things I'll always say is if you have perfectly described your hand, then don't bid it again. So I think you've perfectly described your hand. And if it's right to bid to certainly 5 of a major, I think partner's the one who probably would need to be doing that. And quite often you'd hope he had 5 hearts. But making 11 tricks is tough. This is brilliant bidding from your opponents, no doubt about it. And that's the problem. We don't like that. We don't like our opponents choosing the result, as it were. But 2 spades doubled, 4 spades, it's good, aggressive bidding. And there's 2 things that I would say when I look at my hand is, 1, we may just simply be losing 3 tricks off the top in a contract that we choose. But the second thing would be that one of them might be short in something. So even if you don't lose 3 tricks off the top, they might be able to get a rough somewhere. If you were going to bid, 4 no trumps is probably the best option. I think 4 no trumps in this auction is not Blackwood. It would be saying, partner, let's choose which contract we play in. I think if you change the Jack of clubs to the King of clubs, I think it's probably now reasonable to go for your 600. Okay, but as I say, I would choose 4 no trumps. I would feel that there's a bareness in my clubs and diamonds, as in I'm missing ace, king of clubs and king, queen, jack of diamonds, so I wouldn't necessarily be prepared to go for it. And if my partner had 4 or more hearts, he would have been in a much more powerful position to bid on himself. So I think you've just got to let this one go. Let's have a look at the full hand. So there's your full hand, and I think that's relatively normal. What's interesting is South has pushed it, and I like South's bid. So South has bid beyond the level of their fit, and he's done that because he knows he wants to sacrifice. Okay, so can you see South's hand there? Just 3 card spade support with 6 in partner's hand. But the hand's got a lot of potential, and actually there will be times where you can actually make 4 spades here. You know, give your partner a doubleton heart and 4 diamonds. Okay, he shouldn't usually have a 4-card suit, but you might then be able to scrape home. You probably shouldn't. The opponent should lead trumps, but you know, I like the 4 spade bid. I just don't want to bid 3 spades, and then when the opponents end up bidding again, possibly then bidding 4 spades. I don't like that. So I quite like the jump to 4 spades there. Puts a maximum pressure on. West is another good bid. I like West's bid. That double partner, I've got enough to think that they are sacrificing here, but I haven't got enough to bid a contract of my own. Can you make a game? I think with the bidding that we've seen, you'd expect generally South to be longer in diamonds than North. So I would choose to play the ace of diamonds first if I was playing in 5 diamonds, because I would hope that I would often be picking up South's longer holding in diamonds. And of course, if you play the ace of diamonds first, you will end up losing the ace of clubs, a diamond and a spade. The other thing that might happen, of course, is they might get a club ruff in diamonds anyway. So I don't think you can actually make a contract here. How will 4 spades do? I think if they lead trumps, you may well have to lose 3 hearts and 2 diamonds. So if the defence managed to lead trumps, they could stop North ruffing 2 diamonds. Okay, and if they do that, then it will go 2 off for 300. But a lot of players won't find that defence. And so if declarer can ruff 2 diamonds, 4 spades double just goes 1 off. Now, of course, 1 off, remember these part score numbers, 100 is a great score for North-South, because that beats any part score. So, for example, if East-West finish in 4 diamonds, they probably will make 4 diamonds. Okay, won't always, but they probably will. And in which case, that's 130. Remember, 4 of a minor, 130. And if 4 spades only goes 1 off, that is just 100. Okay, and that's the nuances of it. But if the defence get it right and take it 2 off, 300, I think is a great score for East-West, because I don't think East-West can make a game. Isn't that amazing? I know you've got the points for it. Well, have you got the points? 8, 10, you've only got 22 between you. So again, it's interesting. It can be quite difficult to judge. I think if it goes 3 spades from South, West will bid 4 diamonds. And so it's interesting who has done right. Has South done the right thing bidding 4 spades, or will because if 4 spades double only goes 1 off, that is better than 4 diamonds making. So these are, I mean, in the end, that particular hand is a part score hand, and yet I think we all assume it's a game hand. Interesting one. I hope you agree. Okay, just quick mention of Croatia there. Leslie Lewis is going there next year, and so they'll have fun. One of my favourite hotels, the Hotel Eden in Croatia. And it's a lovely time of year to go there, isn't there? Those of you who've been there will know springtime in Croatia is rather nice. Let's look at our bidding quiz. A reminder on Fridays. On Fridays we are dealing still with the opening of the bidding. We did 3rd hand bidding, opening bidding last week. We are doing 4th hand here. When you're 4th in hand, it goes pass, pass, pass. And I don't want you telling me I open the bidding because I don't want to miss out on a hand. I do understand that, but people really want their money's worth when they play bridge. So the idea of passing a hand out seems a bit too much. Okay, here's the bidding quiz. 1 diamond you open, nice and simple. 3 clubs, weak jump over call. We're getting used to that. Double for take out pass, and it's your bid. 1 diamond, 3 clubs, double, pass, and it's your bid. Some quite tricky ones, really, aren't there? Okay, so nobody's vulnerable. Good luck with that. Remember, you can see the answer on the website, whether a member or not. So I hope you enjoyed that. Nice to see you again. We're here all week. We've got a nice Teams game in the Wednesday. Last week's was great fun, actually, I have to say. So hopefully we'll have as much fun this week. We are talking Guidoba, remember. So I want you to get those good scores in the part score battles. Please do send your hands in. I love to get those hands because we like to. It is such a nice thing to be able to show, particularly the topics that we're talking about from, you know, your own experiences, whether they're good or bad. And in fact, the bad ones are just as good as the good ones. Of course, the seminars that we were doing in Denham this week, I was going on about my usual thing, which is if you don't get a -800 regularly, you're not bidding enough. So you can send me in your -800s as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, and see you again soon.